So this is a Rheem water heater with a forced induction for the exhaust because it's inside, and this is the error code that it has right now. And luckily they put the error code key on here. So if we look at, we have one light, one off, one on, two off, one on. So if we come up here to the legend, it says pressure switch remained open longer than 5 seconds. So I imagine this is probably a pretty common issue with these. The way that these work is the fan turns on first. The pressure switch detects that the draft is actually working. And if it detects it within 5 seconds, it'll allow the main burner to open. Now, that's obviously not what's happening here. So if we switch it off, let's see if it'll fail the light. So the fan's on. This pressure transducer, pressure switch here should detect it being on within 5 seconds. And it didn't, so it failed. So we're going to open this up and check and see what's going on. I'm relatively certain it's moving air because I can hear it and feel it, but the switch isn't closing. It's probably a bad switch. It could be clogged up, but we're going to tear into this and find out what it is. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do here is the way this is installed, you take these three studs coming out of the back of the motor. So you remove these 3 nuts off the back. That takes this loose because the pressure switch, you can see, is installed from the inside out. So if you unscrewed this, it's just going to fall inside. Now, the tube's got to unhook from this pressure switch too, but I can't get it off, so I'm going to try and pop this off of here right now and see if I can get to it. And it's still it's encased pretty well, so let me see if I can't unplug this tube right here. It's just pressed on there. Okay, so we've diagnosed it here pretty easily, and I'll show you how. So this is a relief on this side. This side is where the pressure would come out of here. I've unplugged it from the blower motor. And it should take very minimal pressure to trigger this pressure switch. And maybe we'll even take the pressure switch and see if we can fix it. But if I blow into it, let me switch microphones here. All right, so we switched the microphone in front here so maybe we can hear it. But you should hear it click when I blow on it. So it clicked. See, do you hear the delay there? If I suck on it, it opens and closes. So that pressure switch is hanging up inside. So it's most definitely a bad pressure switch. Let me see if maybe I can use a little trickery and make this work for now, but it should be a relatively easy replacement part to get. Okay, so just worth noting too, as I'm tearing into this, I unplugged it. That should go without saying, but make sure you unplug it. I'm going to take this pressure switch out. Like I said, it's installed from the inside. You can see it here. And I already pulled the 3 screws out. So I'm just going to finagle this out of here with the wiring that's in the way here. We'll just unplug these 2, right? It's just a pressure switch. It should only have 2 wires on it, and it does. So, and you can even see it's marked. It's a little hard to see, but you can see it's marked normally open on that side. This particular switch body looks like it would have normally closed as well, but it doesn't. So, like I said, just 2 wires. Pull it out. It's even got a part number on it here too. So let me get that out of there. So this is not really serviceable at all. It's glued closed. There's no way I'm going to fix it, but I've kind of been blowing and fidgeting with it, trying to get it to loosen up, and I got it to work a little bit here. So if I blow into it, you can see the circuit closes, and then when I stop, it releases. It's still releasing too slow. I imagine the switch is just hanging up. All right, so I don't recommend doing this, but we're going to spray some electronic cleaner into the diaphragm, which is not the right thing to do. So, of course, we're going to do it. It's a Saturday. This part is not available. Any place that's going to have it is closed already. So I need to get this through the weekend for my friend. So we're just going to shoot some deoxit in there and hope for the best. It's either going to destroy the diaphragm or it's going to work. Surprisingly, that worked. Let's see. And it's clicking right away now, so that worked. That's a Band-Aid. All right, so we're going to go ahead and just reinstall this now. Like I said, I put some spray electronic cleaner in there, which will make it work for the weekend. So I'm just going to reassemble it by dropping it in here. I think I'll hook the hose up after. I think it's easier to do it once it's in there, but we'll see. All right, so I got $100 says this thing works. So let's plug it in, and we'll switch the switch on. I think I even heard the pressure switch. We'll see here. No, it faulted. Huh. So this is where there's a twist in the story. This is where I'm wrong, which you guys are used to. It did not work, as you saw, and I just fired this thing up here. We'll do it again. I'm actually not feeling any air come out of the tube here. So let's fire it up again. Is this thing clogged? I don't feel any air coming out of here at all. Maybe this tube is clogged because I feel it moving air through the screen. So folks, this is why you don't get overly confident and cocky when you think you find one problem. So the pressure switch certainly is acting up, but spraying it definitely made it work better. Take a look at this. So I pulled this out. This is the draft tube that's in here. So what happens is the blower is blowing pressure down into this plenum right here, okay? And this sticks into the side of there, and there's a little hole bored into it just to meter a very small amount of air to come through here to blow into this pressure switch right here, okay? Look at the crud that is inside of this thing. It's just completely plugged up with lint. This is in a laundry room. And so what happens is the air is not filtered that this thing is sucking in, and it's just constantly filling this tube up with lint. And there it is. It clogged it up. So all I need to do is just take a little piece of wire and clean this out. All right, so that was stupid. So we just cleaned that out. I just used a piece of wire I had in my bag, and I just unplugged it. And it was two little tiny pieces of crap is all it was. So now when you reinstall this thing goes in from the inside out. You have to make sure that this little hole is pointed straight up because the centrifugal fan is blowing downward, right? So if that's not facing up, if it's facing sideways or down, it's not going to work at all. This has to be facing up. So I'm going to install this just like this. I'm trying to do this one-handed, but, you know, that's how we roll. Okay? So what I'm going to do, actually, I think, to make this a little bit easier is I'm going to put a mark on here. Oh, look at that. It's even got a flat spot on it. Oh, so I don't even need to put a mark on it all. See, they got a flat spot on the bottom. See that? So that flat spot is opposed to the hole. So now we know when we put this in, see, I just realized that flat spot's going to want to be facing down. So that's your tip for the day on how to do that. You got to make sure that flat spot is facing the bottom. All right, so does this mean that I owe all of my subscribers $100? Because that's what I said last time. So I'm not going to be as optimistic this time, but I do think that it's going to work. So let's see what happens. Nope. So here's where we're at. Did order a new pressure switch for it. There was just no other way around it. I started really thinking about this too. And I'm guessing, just based on what I can ascertain from this is probably 0.3 inches of water column, which is very, very, very low pressure. I had to really blow on the other pressure switch to get it to trip. And I'm sure I probably made it worse by spraying it, but you know, it wasn't working and it was just a long shot. Now that I think back on it, you know, this is a lesson to be learned. You know, something that's this sensitive, 0.3 inches of water column is so low of a pressure. You know, hell, blowing too hard and it probably screwed it up. But, you know, that's fine. It wasn't working and we made our best attempt. So anyways, I'm just going to go and replace this now. This is directly from Rheem. This is their part number. It's an SP20732. It was cheaper to order it from Rheem and overnight it than it was to buy it on Amazon or eBay. And it's a guaranteed, you know, it's a genuine part for the Rheem water heater. So we're going to go swap this out, and it should work after this. Two different things were wrong. I think the pressure switch had gone bad. I think it's because of the lint in the laundry room, and that the metering tube that meters the pressure into this also was clogged. Those two things just made it not work. So if you got this thing in a laundry room, you got to make sure it's clean. All right, so we changed it out. We're going to give it a shot here. And I did test the new one. It takes much lower pressure to trigger it than the old one does. Plug it in here, and let's move this light out of the way. And we'll flip the switch on. I did hear the pressure switch, so it should trigger here. Yeah, and it hasn't faulted yet, so it must be working. It's going to light. There it goes. There goes the main valve, and it lit. So the lesson I think that we learned here with this is if you have one of these near your laundry where there's a lot of lint, make sure that you put a filter in here. I'm going to help the owner get a filter for this, and that way it doesn't suck all that up. And this tube was clogged, and it got inside the pressure switch, so that's really detrimental to these things.